Milton, thank you for coming on to the show, Follow the Money. And
Thank you for having me.
it's an honor and a privilege to have you here.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a better way to end the new year, in 2025, and open the new year
Hey,
than having this podcast here today.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to have you here.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about today is we're going to go into the vast world of sales and how it pertains to our future and, how it's going to benefit other sales, men and women, plus the youth in general, right? For the most part. But ultimately, tapping into your perspective and what brought you to sales and how it's going to take you to the point that you can share and pass it on to your legacy,
Sure.
right?
Got it.
Milton,
Yeah.
who is Milton Weaver?
Well, it's. I ask that question to myself every day as well. Who am I, right? And that's to me, that was part of the learning curve, part of understanding who you are, and kind of led me into sales, unbeknownst to me, and marketing. A couple things I learned early in my life, and that is the whole art of storytelling, the art of communication. My dad was a psychiatrist. My mom was a school teacher. So naturally, I think, and being the youngest sibling of four, so all of that built the foundation of who Milton is, if you will, right? So before I knew it, I'm telling stories, not lying, but creating stories around my life and sharing it with people. And then I realized that as you communicate with people, you can build a connection through those stories, right? And then I realized that those stories, if those stories relate to what someone's interested in, then you can build value and you can build a common bridge and understanding, right? And so early in my career, early in my life, I've always had a job. So that's who Milton is. I've always wanted my own independence. I always wanted my own freedom and being able to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And I realized in order to do this in this capitalistic world, you need some cash, right? So unfortunately, in life, cash doesn't make you happy. I think it makes things easier in this world that we live in, depending on what you want, right? You could be a Buddhist and not have any materialistic things, and that's cool. But if you want a nice car, you want to go to a nice restaurant, you need some capital, right? So I always wanted to have my own money, and I always wanted to not have anyone tell me what to do. So that's kind of leads to, sorry it's a long-winded answer, but that's kind of leads to who Milton is.
Well, that sounds about right. Who doesn't want a secure future?
Right.
Right. And in the world that we live in, the monetary world we live in, and materialistic,
Right.
we need to be able to produce.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And as a man, even much more so
Absolutely.
because of our family. Right.
Yeah.
And so when you are the head of a household and you are, passing on the torch, if you will, right, to the next generation of family members, if not men, right, you need to teach them how to be able to produce and create a, a sustainable and secure life for themselves and their family. So it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
What made you? What was the moment that sales changed your life? Like what brought the fire?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know exactly what I was gonna say. The fire out of
That's
you.
good. Great question. I think going back to where I was sharing with you a little bit about who Milton was, the whole storytelling.
Yeah.
What I realized is that sales for me is a lot about storytelling and about connecting with someone, right? And oftentimes, sales has a negative connotation in that is, oh, I don't want to be sold, or the used car salesman. If you're really passionate about it, it's not about selling, it's about finding a solution. Right? So for me, it was helping other people. My dad was a psychiatrist, as I mentioned before. So I saw the value in helping people and being there for people, right? My mom was a school teacher, which is helping, which is learning, which is teaching, which is allowing people to tell their story and helping them see a new light or, 1+1 =2. You didn't know that before the teacher shared that with you, right? So then as I graduated school, I went to UCLA. As I graduated, I was fortunate enough to work with a leading financial services company, American Express, and started off as an independent contractor. So what I was able to do was hone those skills and take advantage of a lot of the learnings that that corporation shared with me. Right. And it wasn't about forcing someone to, at this time it was merchant sales, right? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't about forcing that merchant to take American Express. It was about sharing the value of the American Express card member that could bring to that company, mm-hmm. right? So then you kind of have to build that relationship with that sales person, that individual, that store owner, if you will, the merchant, mm-hmm. and listen to their needs and their story, and then adapt your story to bring the value to them. So that's when I kind of realized that, wow, this is cool. And then I started doing a little more homework, and reading. I'm a big student of just give me information, right? So just a sponge, if you will. So I did the Tony Robbins course, I did Landmark, I did all these other things about learning about yourself and learning about telling stories or creating value, if you will. Mm-hmm. And
mindset, I would imagine.
Pardon me?
Mindset.
Yeah,
I would imagine
absolutely.
Well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that I think is real important. So kind of, net, I think sales is about finding solutions. Mm-hmm. And with my background and my parents, starting with my parents, I found that was an opportunity to take what I've learned and bring it to the fore and make some money at it.
And I wanted to, talk about that a little bit, just a little bit, with your parents. That is a fantastic combination, if you ask me, too, mm-hmm. Being that your father's a psychologist, right? And then your mom was a teacher.
Right.
So, everything is mind, right? Mindfulness, mm-hmm. and then your father mm-hmm. being able to, share that with you, mm-hmm. the psychology of, people, right? And the inner workings of society in a psychological aspect, mm-hmm. right? And mm-hmm. your mom being a people person, mm-hmm. being a giver, mm-hmm. if you will, and a helper, right? Mm-hmm. And sharing the wealth of knowledge, absolutely. Right? To pass it on to the next generation.
Yeah, and it was, it's getting into a little bit about life in general and how far we've come and how still far we have to go. My dad, when he became a psychiatrist, there were only 2 schools accepting black folks.
Wow.
Howard and Meharry.
That was Howard.
Yeah, so he went to Meharry Medical School. Right. He went to Meharry, but and I don't know why he chose Meharry. That's interesting. I didn't know that. And so, but nonetheless, we've come a long way. We still have ways to go, and and some folks might argue we're going backward a little bit, and I wouldn't disagree that we're stepping back. But I think the key is to keep moving forward.
Indeed.
Right? Yeah.
Indeed. Right. Absolutely. So, what is your perspective on the biggest myth of sales and marketing?
I think for me, the biggest myth is that sales, you're convincing someone of something, right? Okay. So to me, like as I mentioned before, it's not about convincing. It's about listening. It's about understanding what the person's needs are and how can you help them, mm-hmm. right? In my opinion.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's not about pressuring someone, because if you feel that, if they feel pressured, 1, you've missed their signals. 2, they're probably not going to buy from you. And if they do buy, they're probably, well, hopefully they'll be happy. But oftentimes people remember that experience. So if I bought a sweater from you, I might love the sweater. But if it was a nightmare in that sales experience, right. That's the feeling I'll get when I put that sweater on, right? So you want to try to understand that. So in my going back, with my career, I started off in financial services, moved over to advertising for a little while, and now I'm finishing my career in professional services. So that's one of the big 4 accounting firms. Prior to that, I worked with a number of leading ad agencies. So I was able to hone those skills and pick up on that information that, sales is not about convincing people, and it's about understanding. And nowadays, it's really utilizing the data that is available to you, because when I was growing up, there was none of this online environment. So it really was kind of, understanding more, like you said, behavioral, and trying to understand and model people's behavior. But now with the data you have available to you with online behavior and activities, you're able to track that activity and segment people and communicate and tailor and hone your story based on those individuals. So to me, it's not about pushing someone. To answer your question, the biggest misconception, it's not about pushing, it's about listening. It's about sharing information. It's about finding value, and segmenting your message to really target that particular segment of individuals. And I have some examples of that if you want me to share a little bit.
Well, we'll get to it, but that makes perfect sense, right? Let me bring it back a little bit. What was the deal that taught you the biggest lesson in sales? Because of course we all, in sales, we're gonna have when you said the nightmare there.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Those learning painful learning experiences, if you will.
But you have to go through it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you kind of you're doing yourself an injustice, right?
Yeah.
This is the universe saying, okay, in order for you to get to the next level, you have to qualify. So let me throw you in the flame and show you what it feels like. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Phoenix rising from the fire, if you will. So,
let me burn that old, that old version of you.
yeah.
And forward you into a new.
Yeah. Well, I have a number of different stories about, and a number of different lessons along the way.
As we all do.
But the overarching, I think, story was the deal you thought you had. So not getting into the specifics of something.
Right.
So it's like, oh yeah, everyone was smiling at the meeting, and they really. So in the case of financial services, early in my career, I'm selling a merchant on the use of American Express. They're all nodding their head. They're loving the idea. Yes, makes a lot of sense, and blah, 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 and da-da-da, and go back to my boss. Yeah, it's a lock. It's a lock.
I love it.
And then the next day, they call back and say, they're not going to go forward, right? So that was, and there's been a number of those stories in different iterations and different, colors, if you will, with different little lessons along the way. But that one was particularly hard hitting because, you realize that when you might think something, you might think something's done and it's not done. So what did you leave on the table? What did you not hear? And what I realized is that it's not about the product or the service necessarily. It's about how someone feels about the product and the service. And if you don't feel secure, you're probably not going to buy. So somewhere along the way, I didn't connect with somebody. I didn't hear their true concern. I didn't make them feel safe. They got back into the back room and had cold feet. Right. So that was the big lesson for me. Is, again, as I said earlier, it's about listening more than talking, if you will. Right. So, as they say, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? So
For a reason, indeed. A young mother of 34 was diagnosed with cancer and passed within a year. Her policy replaced her income, allowing her husband to focus on raising the children instead of rushing back to work. Life insurance replaces lost income, so a family can maintain stability when a primary caretaker or earner is gone. In this situation, it gave the husband the freedom to prioritize his children and healing rather than immediate financial survival. He said that 90% of people, the sales happen because 90% is you. They like you. Right? They like you and they trust you. And 10% the product, right? And so most of the time it's because they feel a connection with you.
That's absolutely
right. 90% of the time, right? They've emotionally bonded, right? And now they say, okay, this is the person I'm going to deal with. Right.
And that makes a lot of sense. And I would totally agree with that in the current scenario of my current career situation right now is we respond to a lot of RFPs, requests for a proposal. So a company goes out and they'll send an RFP out to 10 companies, and then they'll whittle it down to the top 3 companies, and those top 3 companies come in and do presentations and oral presentations and talk to them. And to your point, I have to coach folks that this is a chemistry check. We all were invited to the dance, right? We all can do the work,
Right.
but it's these folks are evaluating, is this the individual I want to work with for the next year, for the next 6 months, for the next 3 years, right? So, and if they don't feel that connection, it's like, you know what? I'm not going with Milton. I'm going to go with Bill over there because I have a connection with Bill, and Milton and Bill both can do the work,
Right.
but I have a connection with Bill, right?
Right.
So it is about that, and it is, to what I said, it's like finding that connection and going back. That was one of the lessons of that deal I lost, right? Is what connection did I not make?
Right. And you kind of rewind it, right? In your mind,
Yeah.
what did I do?
Right.
How did I not see something that about myself or within that, that interaction that made it go south, if you will,
Right, right,
But then, I mean, the biggest lesson is, even though you thought it was in the bag,
Right.
nothing's certain.
Right. Yeah, nothing's certain for sure. And I think the biggest lesson for me out of that was listen more than talk. Ask open-ended questions. Find out, dig in. And now, in the current state of things, there's a lot of data available to you, a lot of information on the internet. You can do a lot of homework before you go in there so that you kind of have an understanding of, is this company, in growth mode, or is this company in trouble mode? They neutral ground, so that you can start asking those questions and really understanding that client and understanding their perspective and get them talking of where they're at, right? And then you can tailor your solution. Your solution is what your solution is. But if you can make that connection and that bridge and give them that security and safety that they feel that your product can provide in the relationship they have with you, you're off to the races.
You're off.
Yeah.
Good start.
Yeah, right. Yeah, nothing's a lock, as we learn, but you're off to the races, right?
But a good start is what you want,
Yeah,
right?
right.
A good positive start. And being a top producer, what is some of the habits, right, that you've come up with that, is tailored to you?
Right. I think that top producers aren't just born, so that may be one of the misconceptions too. Is like, oh, he's so great. Oh, that he's just lucky, or that's just how he is. No, there's consistency, right? So understanding what works and doing it all the time, right? So oftentimes, in that particular case I talked about, you thought it was a lock. I don't need to follow up with them, right?
Bad move.
Right. So it's that consistency.
Right.
I'm going to always follow up, even if it's uncomfortable, even if I don't feel I have to, even if I feel that this is a lock. They've shaken my hand, looked me in the eye, and said, we're going to go with you. Follow up. Ask those open-ended questions. If there was something that was open-ended in that conversation, close the loop on it in that follow-up communication, right? So I think consistency, that's what I see with top producers, is consistency. It's consistency in how they approach, how they listen, how they follow up.
Two friends went into business together. When Jeff died unexpectedly, his business partner used the life insurance proceeds to buy out his shares and keep the company running without chaos or lawsuits. Life insurance ensures business continuity when the partner dies unexpectedly. In this case, it provided funds to execute a clean buyout, protecting the company from disruption, conflict, and legal battles. The habits.
The habits, absolutely.
Right? So
right.
ironclad habits for success, but not only that, to not slack off, if
Right.
you will. So
Right.
you've gained their trust, right? And now it's a good idea to continue to let them know that you're trustworthy.
Absolutely.
Right? So you're going to do your job.
Yeah.
Right?
And I
look out
think
for their best
also,
interests.
holding a mirror up to yourself. So really understanding what works, your style, track it, use it, adjust. Don't be afraid to adjust things, but also understands what's working and what's not working.
Right.
Right. And you really kind of understand that. Yeah.
What most people misunderstand about human behavior when it comes to sales, when it pertains to sales?
Understanding removes resistance. I think is an interesting tagline for me. Nobody wants to be sold, right? So the more you understand, the more that resistance kind of goes away.
Right.
So I think part of that misconception, what people miss about human behavior, is understanding, is listening, as I mentioned before, really identify those needs before you start talking about delivering a solution, right? Really giving that person a chance to be understood and heard before you start going in there with your pitch, right? So it's that even if you feel, and everyone feels that your solution is the greatest thing, you don't want to go in there and just start shoving it down people's throats, right? So it's really understanding
Humility.
that. Yeah. So I think that is often missed with human behavior, and that oh, I know my product is great, so they're going to buy it. No, you still got to go. We're still dealing with people.
That's right.
Dealing with humans.
First and foremost.
I think that's really important, right? And then like I mentioned before, understanding the data that you have available to you, so you can segment, so you can communicate, so you can separate, and kind of really get to that point of listening and learning gives you the understanding.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. Or where do you see the future of sales, especially when involving AI?
Yeah. So, I'm going to date myself here, brother. So, when I first started off in sales, I saw the fax machines come online. Right?
Oh my God.
So yeah, I saw the fax. We were doing things with the duplicates, right? So you'd tear things off, and so anyway, I saw the the fax machine come online. I saw the pocket computer wizard come online. Then it moved from a paper written, meeting scheduler to then your little pocket wizard, and then the iPhone.
Right.
And so the one lesson there, the one common truth is that technology is not stopping.
Oh, no.
Right. It's going forward. So now it's AI, right?
Right.
So, and I think AI is great for informing, right? It's great for giving you a 80% head start on your presentation, your pitch, your information, whatever. But the humans are the ones that are still going to decide. So in a sales environment,
Makes sense.
I still have to make a connection with you.
Absolutely.
Right. So I think the AI aspect of it is great. It gives you a great head start, but you can't lose sight of the human perspective of it. So if you will, AI handles the processing, but not necessarily the trust. The trust that's the human connection. So that's I think that is really important. That's where it kind of goes into your last two questions. So human behavior and the future. Right? So let's not lose sight of the human behavior as technology continues to change. Like I said, I start off with fax machines, and everyone, oh, this is great, and, iPhone and this, that, and the other. You and I are still talking right now.
That's right.
Right? Now we've got the whole new technology and a new way of delivering this communication, this data, but it is, at the end of the day, a human-to-human relationship.
So the sales industry, for saleswomen, your job is still solid.
Yeah, right. Yeah, your job is still solid, along with plumbers and house builders. I mean,
That's right.
The AI ain't going to take, it's not going to clear your plumbing or build your roof or fix your roof,
Whatsoever.
right?
You're not going to be repurposed. Don't worry.
But don't get it twisted. Yes, those jobs, the people who are coding and doing all the data, they're real. Those jobs are real and they're very
yeah.
important. But at the end of the day, sales is not a bad word. Any company, any corporation, at the end of the day, it's about that selling something. It's
Right.
about that communication, right? So, so I think that folks who embrace that and really own it, if you will, and become a student of it, I think AI is not going to replace that. So the future of it is still, like you said, very solid.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm glad you said that. It's not sales is not bad.
Yeah.
Because of course we got some bad reps out there, and then we got a lot of great reps. Right? But everything around us involves sales. Every material thing on this planet, for the most part, involves someone said, "Hey, look at this. Wouldn't you like to have this? Couldn't this be useful for you?" Right? Wouldn't you like to pass this on and give this to someone for a gift, right? Things of that nature, right? So that all came from sales,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. And you name a company, any company, at some level, there's going to be sales involved. Any service
On some
company,
level.
any corporate company, any product development company, So it's not a bad thing, and the more you can embrace that and own it and understand human behavior, not be afraid of technology, but utilize it, the better we are.
Indeed.
Yeah. So in that world.
So what is the next step for you as far as legacy?
Yeah. Well, I'll share my information to anyone that's willing to hear it. So I think the bottom line is, once you can communicate value and understanding of that individual, you're free, right? From the sales perspective, right? So, communication for me and sharing this information, and this is just the beginning. I do some mentoring with kids and work with a number of individuals. Communication is currency, right? So how you can leverage that and own that communication. And I think that the one thing, as far as my legacy goes, because I kind of got that from my father and my mother, and that is being able to communicate, right? So if you're able to communicate and able to understand value, man, your world's your oyster, right? So the more young folks early in their career, or not so much young folks early in their career, whether you're young or old, doesn't matter. If you're changing careers, the more you can understand and embrace that and own that and seek out individuals that can support you in that, which is what I'm trying to do, the better off you'll be. So that would be my legacy, is really trying to touch as many lives and change the paradigm for young folks, brown folks, whatever, doesn't matter, to improve. That's what I would like to. That's where I'd like to leave my mark. So creating those options is for an individual to be able to utilize the tools and the God-given tools of communication and the God-given tools of understanding, and utilize that for their career path. Great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Is there a quote that you would like to share that you feel is impactful?
No, I think that the only thing I can really think of is once you can communicate value, you're free. So.
And with that being said, Milton, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Follow
Thank
the
you.
money.
Thank you for having me.
Happy New Year
Happy
to
New
you.
Year. Yeah.
And to you and yours.
Yes, sir. You too.
Much blessed.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, sir.